Stephen King would later think that if the road had wanted him dead, it could have done the job cleanly. A sharper curve, a truck instead of a guardrail, a second longer on the ice. But the road, like so many things in his life, had always preferred slow stories. It was late afternoon, the kind of Maine afternoon that pretended to be harmless. The sky was pale, stretched thin like old paper held up to the light. Snow clung to the shoulders of the road in dirty piles, retreating in places where the sun had worried at it all day. Stephen had driven this stretch more times than he could count. He could have done it blindfolded, half asleep, drunk on nostalgia and coffee. That was what unsettled him. The familiarity felt wrong. Not hostile, not threatening, just attentive. The road seemed to watch him. Stephen rolled down the window an inch. Cold air slipped in, sharp and metallic, carrying the smell of pine and wet asphalt. His chest tightened, not with fear exactly, but with the same sensation he used to get before a sentence arrived fully formed in his head. The quiet certainty that something had already begun, whether he liked it or not. The radio murmured low country static. He turned the knob. A voice tried to surface, failed, and dissolved into a hiss. The signal died completely. Figures, he muttered. Snow began to fall. Not gently, these were needled flakes, dry and fast, streaking sideways as if thrown. The road darkened, sheen forming in patches that caught the light wrong. Stephen slowed instinctively, his hands tightened on the wheel. A thought came to him then, uninvited and unwelcome. This is how it starts. He almost laughed it off. He had made a career out of turning ordinary moments into omens. He was tired, that was all. Tired and older than he liked to admit. The car hit black ice just past mile marker 47. There was no drama to it at first, just the sudden, sickening lightness as the tires lost their argument with the road. The steering wheel spun uselessly beneath his hands. The world tilted, slow and dreamlike. Stephen had time for one clear, absurd thought. Don't make it poetic. Then the guardrail vanished. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. Pain arrived like a hammer wrapped in fire. The world went dark. He came back to consciousness in pieces. Sound first, a rhythmic crackling like wood burning. Then smell, soup, something medicinal. His body followed reluctantly, pain blooming in his legs so violently that for a moment he thought he was still dying. Stephen opened his eyes. The ceiling above him was low and stained, spiderwebbed with hairline cracks that radiated from a central watermark shaped vaguely like a face. A single naked bulb hung from a cord, swaying slightly. Each swing dragged shadows across the walls, stretching and snapping them back. Warmth pressed down on him, too much warmth. He tried to move. Pain answered. A groan slipped out before he could stop it. "Easy now," a woman's voice said. "Don't do that." She stepped into view, blocking the light. She was big. Not obese, not sloppy, just solid, as if carved from something meant to endure. Her hair was pulled back tight, every strand disciplined into place. She wore a nurse's uniform that once was white and now hovered somewhere between yellow and gray. Her smile was wide and practiced. Stephen had written that smile more times than he cared to remember. "Where?" His voice burned. The word barely made it out. "You're safe," she said briskly. "You had quite a spill." "My car." "Totaled," she said, almost cheerfully. "But that can be replaced. You can't." She moved closer, and he saw her eyes clearly then. Pale, watchful. They missed nothing. "I'm Annie," she said. "Annie Wilkes." She took his wrist before he could protest, fingers pressing into his skin with surprising strength. She counted silently, nodding to herself. "Pulse is strong," she said. "You're a lucky man." The word again. Lucky. Stephen tried to lift his head. His legs screamed in protest. "What happened to my legs?" Annie's smile dimmed just a fraction. Not sympathy exactly, assessment. "Compound fractures, both of them. You lost a lot of blood. If I hadn't come along when I did." She let the sentence trail off, savoring it. "Hospital," Stephen said. "I need—" "No," Annie said. The word landed heavy. "The roads are closed," she continued, smoothing the blanket over him. "Phones are out, and you can't be moved. Trust me, I was a nurse. I know these things." Something cold slid into Stephen's stomach. He had written this room before, written this woman, written this moment when the wrong word ended the conversation. "How long?" he began. "Rest," Annie said firmly. "Questions later." She turned and walked out. The door closed. A second passed. Then came the click of a lock. Time became unreliable. Stephen slept, woke, slept again. Painkillers blurred the edges of things, but not enough to make him comfortable. His legs were wrapped tight, immobilized, their weight foreign and distant. Every attempt to shift sent lightning through his body. The room revealed itself slowly. Small window, too small. Snow pressed against it like a white wall. A bedside table with water, pills, and a chipped mug that read, "World's Best Nurse." A bathroom door across the room. No phone, no clock. Annie appeared regularly, efficient and unhurried. She fed him soup, adjusted his splints, administered pills. She talked while she worked, about the weather, about the unreliability of people, about how the world had gone wrong because no one respected rules anymore. Stephen listened. He knew better than to argue. On the third day, or what he thought was the third day, she lingered after giving him his pills. "You're him," she said suddenly. "Who?" Stephen's heart skipped. She tilted her head, studying him like a puzzle she'd finally solved. "Stephen King," she said. "You didn't think I wouldn't recognize you." He considered denying it. The lie rose easily. Then he saw the hunger in her eyes. "Yes," he said quietly. Her breath hitched. For a moment, she looked almost reverent. "You wrote them," she whispered. "All of them. Derry, Castle Rock, Jerusalem's Lot. You stitched it all together." Stephen felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold outside. "I write stories," he said carefully. "No," Annie said. "You made things." She stepped closer. "You made him." "Who?" Stephen asked, though he knew already what Koken was about. His gaze flicked toward the corner of the room.
"You don't hear him yet," she said. "That's all right. You will." She straightened. "I'll need you to write something for me," she added. "A proper story, one that fixes a few mistakes." "Mistakes?" Stephen echoed, but she was already leaving. The lock slid home. The first laugh came that night. Stephen was half asleep, drifting in that shallow, uncomfortable place where pain dulled but never disappeared. The house creaked and sighed around him, wind scraped at the walls. Then he heard it, a laugh, high, thin, wet. It came from the bathroom, from the pipes. Stephen's eyes snapped open. He stared at the closed door, heart pounding. The sound bubbled up again, as if someone were laughing underwater, lungs full of filth. Hallucination, he told himself. Painkillers, trauma. The laugh faded. Silence returned. Then he noticed the balloon. It floated near the ceiling, its red surface dull in the low light, string brushing the bulb as it swayed. Stephen stared. He blinked. The balloon was gone. The dreams followed. Sewers, darkness, teeth arranged in impossible smiles. Children screaming, not in fear but in awful understanding.
In one dream, he stood at the mouth of a storm drain, rain pouring down, soaking his clothes. Something waited below. It smiled at him. When he woke, his sheets were soaked with sweat. Annie noticed. "You look pale," she said. "Nightmares?" "Pain," Stephen lied. She nodded approvingly. "Pain is honest. Fear makes things up." That night, Stephen heard footsteps outside his door. Slow, deliberate. Something passed beneath the crack of light. He smelled copper. Meat. He saw it clearly on the fifth night. The light flickered once, twice. The corner of the room bent inward, reality folding like damp paper. A figure stepped out of the distortion. Tall. Too tall. White face, red lines drawn from mouth to eyes, a ruffled collar stained dark. The clown smiled. "Hello, Stephen," it said. Its voice layered over itself, child and beast and something older. "You know me." Stephen couldn't scream. His mouth worked uselessly. "You wrote me," the clown continued, stepping closer. "Fed me, page by page." Its eyes glowed yellow. "I eat meat, but fear seasons it, makes it sweet." Its gaze slid to the door. "But her," the smile twitched, "she is dry." Stephen found his voice. "What do you want?" The clown straightened. "I want what I always want, but first—" Its grin faltered. "I need you to explain something to me." The light went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Downstairs, Annie Wilkes hummed softly as she sharpened a knife. Stephen King learned over the course of a long life spent listening to the darker corners of his own mind that there were different kinds of fear. There was the sharp, immediate kind, the kind that arrived with a car skidding on ice or a sudden noise in the dark, a fear that made the body react before the brain had time to argue, a fear that spiked and then, mercifully, began to fade. And then there was the other kind, the slow kind, the kind that did not shout but whispered. That fear had weight. It settled. It made a home. That was the fear Pennywise brought with him. He did not move when the light went out. He did not need to. Darkness, Stephen understood now, was not the absence of sight, but the presence of something else. Something that crowded the room, pressed against his skin, slipped into his mouth and nose until every breath tasted old and damp, like air pulled from a long-sealed cellar. "You feel it now," Pennywise said, though his voice did not come from any single direction, but rather from everywhere at once, as if the walls themselves had decided to speak. "That's good. That's very good." The light snapped back on. Pennywise stood at the foot of the bed. Up close, he was worse. The makeup was cracked and flaking, revealing something gray and wrong beneath, something that looked less like flesh and more like stone that had learned to bleed. Its smile was enormous, a grotesque curve stretched far too wide for a human face, and behind it waited teeth that did not belong together, teeth that suggested a mouth designed not for speech, but for the slow, deliberate tearing of meat. Stephen's heart hammered so hard he was certain Pennywise could hear it. "You know what I am," Stephen said, though the words trembled despite his effort to steady them. Pennywise cocked his head. "Do you?" he asked, and for a moment his voice slid upward into something almost playful, almost childlike, before collapsing back into a wet, rasping growl that made Stephen's stomach twist. "I eat meat," Pennywise said softly, lovingly, as if sharing a cherished recipe. "But fear,
He inhaled deeply, theatrically. Fear seasons it. Fear softens it. Fear makes it worth chewing. His eyes burned brighter. "You are afraid," he said, and there was no question in it. "You have always been afraid. That's why you could hear us in the first place." Stephen swallowed. "What do you want?" he asked again. Pennywise's grin twitched just slightly, and for the first time Stephen sensed something like irritation beneath the performance. "I want her," he said, "but she does not taste right." The air in the room seemed to tighten, as though the walls were leaning inward to listen. "She should be delicious," Pennywise continued, pacing now, his movements jerky and unnatural, as if his joints didn't quite agree on how walking was supposed to work. "She holds no terror. She doesn't imagine monsters. She doesn't need me, and that makes her wrong." A long pause followed. Then Pennywise stopped pacing. "That makes her dangerous." The next morning, Annie Wilkes brought Stephen his breakfast. Oatmeal. Too hot. She fed it to him carefully, watching his face with the focused attention of someone waiting for a reaction. "You didn't sleep well," she said. Stephen said nothing. "I heard you talking," she continued pleasantly, "late last night." His stomach clenched. "Bad dreams can make people babble, especially when they've got a guilty conscience." "I wasn't dreaming," Stephen said. Her spoon paused halfway to his mouth. Slowly, she smiled. "Oh," she said, "so he's found you." Stephen's breath caught. "You hear him too?" Annie snorted. "Hear him? I hear lots of things. That doesn't mean I listen." She set the bowl aside and leaned closer, her face filling his vision. "He thinks he's special," she said. "That's his problem." That night, Pennywise came again. This time, he did not bother with the clown. He came as something closer to truth.
The walls peeled back, not physically, but in the way dreams peeled back logic, revealing a deeper layer beneath. The room elongated, stretched, and the ceiling rose until it vanished into blackness. The smell returned, stronger now, overwhelming. Pennywise unfolded himself from the darkness. He was vast, not tall, but deep, his body folding in on itself like a nightmare attempting to wear a shape that could fit inside a room. Limbs suggested themselves and then retracted. Eyes opened and closed along surfaces that should not have held eyes at all. Stephen screamed. Pennywise laughed. The sound was enormous, a roaring chorus that rattled the bed frame and vibrated in Stephen's bones. "Yes," Pennywise crooned. "That's better. That's the sound I've been missing." He leaned in close, impossibly close, his presence crushing. "I have eaten cities," he whispered. "I have gnawed on generations. I have drunk fear from children so pure it made angels weep." His voice dropped. "And she gives me nothing." Stephen sobbed now, the sound tearing out of him despite every instinct to hold it back. "She hurts people," Pennywise snarled. "She breaks them. She feeds them pain and calls it love. Why doesn't she scream for me?" The question was not rhetorical. Pennywise waited. Stephen understood then, with a cold clarity that settled like a verdict, that Pennywise was not merely angry, he was hungry, and hunger, when denied, curdled into something far worse. The confrontation happened 2 nights later. Stephen did not see how Pennywise entered the house, only that the temperature dropped suddenly, sharply, as if winter itself had slipped inside. Frost crawled along the edges of the window. The lights flickered. Annie was in the kitchen. Stephen heard her humming. Pennywise manifested in the doorway, his clown form restored, though it looked strained now, the smile too wide, the paint flaking rapidly. "Hello, Annie," he said. She turned, looked at him, and sighed. "Oh," she said, "you again." The words slapped Pennywise like a slap. He grinned wider, forcing cheer into his voice. "Aren't you scared?" Annie frowned. "No," she said. "You're sloppy." Silence fell. "What?" Pennywise asked. "You rely on tricks," Annie continued, folding her arms. "Faces, teeth, noise. That's not how you correct bad behavior." Pennywise's eyes flared. "I could tear you apart," he hissed. She shrugged. "If you could, you would have already." That was when Pennywise understood. Not fully, not all at once, but enough. She was not afraid because she believed, truly believed, that pain was earned, that suffering was necessary, and that she was its proper instrument. Fear required doubt. Annie Wilkes had none. Pennywise stepped back. For the first time in centuries, the Eater of Fear found himself standing before something that did not flinch, something that did not scream, something that looked at him and saw not a god, but a mistake. And somewhere deep inside the dark machinery of Pennywise's being, something old and unpleasant stirred, something like fear. Stephen King would later realize that the most terrifying moment of that night had not been Pennywise's arrival in the kitchen, nor the way the thing's smile twitched and strained as Annie Wilkes dismissed it like a poorly behaved child, but rather the silence that followed, the thick, pregnant quiet in which something ancient and patient recalculated. Pennywise did not attack. He did not laugh. He did not vanish in a theatrical flourish of shadow and screams. He simply watched her. The kitchen light hummed overhead. The smell of disinfectant and boiled vegetables hung in the air. Annie stood with her arms folded, her weight shifted slightly onto one hip, her expression pinched in faint irritation, like a schoolteacher faced with a slow student. "You don't belong here." Pennywise's eyes slid toward Stephen's room, then back to her. "Oh, I belong everywhere," he replied, though his voice had lost some of its earlier confidence, its edges fraying into something rawer, more honest. "I was here before you knew what a rule was." Annie snorted softly. "Everything thinks that." She turned her back on him and returned to the stove, lifting a lid, stirring a pot with slow, deliberate motions. Pennywise flinched. It was a small thing, barely noticeable, but Stephen saw it from his bed, saw the way the thing's shoulders twitched as though struck by a sudden, unfamiliar chill. Being ignored was not part of Pennywise's mythology. Being dismissed was worse. That night, Pennywise came to Stephen not as a clown, not as a monster of teeth and eyes, but as something far subtler and infinitely more invasive. He came as a voice. It slipped into Stephen's mind without announcement, without shape, settling behind his thoughts like a second narrator who had grown tired of waiting its turn. "She's going to hurt you again," the voice said. Stephen lay rigid in bed, staring at the ceiling, his heart pounding. "She enjoys it," Pennywise continued, patient and intimate, every word sinking in like a needle. "You know that. You've always known how she ends these stories." "Get out of my head," Stephen whispered. "I can't," Pennywise replied gently. "You built it with doors." Images followed the words. Annie's hands, strong, steady, the hammer resting on the bedside table, not yet needed but always within reach, the certainty in her eyes when she decided something was necessary. Fear bloomed in Stephen's chest, wretch and immediate. Pennywise drank deeply. Yes, he murmured, pleasure threading through the thought. That's better. You still taste right. Stephen bit down on a scream. You want her, Stephen thought desperately. So take her. Pennywise paused. Then, slowly, deliberately, the voice pressed closer. I don't want her, it said. I want what she's made of. The next morning, Annie announced her plan. You're going to write today. Annie set the notebook and pen on the tray table with reverent care. No excuses. I've waited long enough. Stephen stared at the blank page. What do you want me to write? Annie smiled. A confession. Stephen's blood ran cold. You mean? I mean the clown, Annie said. I want him explained. I want him small. I want him corrected. Stephen looked up at her. You don't understand what you're asking. Her smile vanished. Oh, I understand perfectly, she said. You made him. That means you can unmake him. She leaned closer, her voice dropping into something intimate and dangerous. And if you don't, we'll find another way to motivate you. Stephen picked up the pen.